Thank you for watching the presentation on the facility needs of the Baraboo High School. This began 5 years ago in a facility planning process put on by the Board of Education. We wanted to highlight repairing and revitalizing our aging facilities. We wanted to create flexible learning environments and expand our co-curricular. Our path of improvement has been to engage the community with an ad hoc committee of the board. We also hired a general contractor and an architect to help us explore our needs and cost out our solutions. We look to invest in the existing buildings that we have rather than look to build new. And we've prioritized the Baraboo High School for Phase 2. The Phase 1 referendum was about the safe and secure environment. It was about revitalizing our aging facilities when it came to roofs and parking lots. That was back in 2014 where the public approved a $10 million referendum. We are currently utilizing school perceptions to draft a survey that will go out to the entire community, and all of our stakeholders will give us feedback on the process so far. As we look to the high school, you can see our past, which represents the construction in 1961. The building is approximately 55 years old, and it was designed to meet the needs of the community at the time. Today, the building has been expanded in the 90s, but when it was built in the 60s, we had about 600 students. Today, we've added a grade level and we are up to about 1,000 students. The high school gym represents the only large meeting space that we have in the district. Some of the areas that we look to impact with this next phase includes the cafeteria commons. You can see the original pictures here of the cafeteria. Much of the tile is still there today. There was plenty of space for kids at the time. However, right now with 1,000 kids, although there was a slight expansion of the cafeteria in the 90s, it was not enough to handle the needs of all of our students. As we put our 1,000 kids through 3 lunch periods, we begin our day at 7:45 in the morning and our last lunch period ends at nearly 2 p.m. This is called hot seating lunch. You're basically waiting for someone to get up to sit down. We also have students that are sitting on the floor in the hallways eating the lunch as well as in the stairwells. One of the things that we have to do is split our classroom or our class time in the middle. So someone will begin class for 30 minutes, they'll stop class, go to lunch, return after lunch, and try to start up class again to finish that block schedule. It isn't very effective. A larger cafeteria commons area would buy us time. It would allow us to do 2 lunches in the day versus 3. Our tech ed department is the other area that needs upgrading. Tech ed, or called shop class, has come a long way since the 60s, although we still have some of the equipment from the 70s. The environment is chopped up. Each thing is set aside in its own little cell. There's lots of walls. There's not enough student space. The reason why there's not enough student space is we've gone to a block schedule. That allows kids to take an additional elective, and shop was probably one of our most popular electives for kids to take. We've gone from 300 kids to 706. So we've more than doubled the amount of shop class offerings. And it's really exciting for kids to get that kind of exposure. We want high school to be career and college ready. And this is obviously the area that makes us career ready. You can see here's an example of today's tech ed classroom with Mike giving instruction, and the groups are much larger. We look to increase that space size, add on to it, clear out some walls, make it a much more open, inviting, creative environment to meet today's needs. Student services is another area we'd like to improve. Student services represents the school psychs, the counselors, the district registrar. You have kids here that are planning their future after school. You have kids that are receiving disciplinary measures here. You have new families enrolling in this environment. And you may even have the police involved in certain matters. And it's all happening right here in this environment that you see on the screen. Clearly, these professionals need confidential space. It's critically important to our students, not just for their future, but through their daily needs where they contact their counselors and their psych support services. And so what we want to make sure we do is provide them the right confidential environment. Here's another picture of what it looks like in any given day. Family and consumer ed is another home ec, is what most people call it. Another program that has gained in popularity with block scheduling. Currently, we have this split into two areas. Part of it's held at the high school, part of it is held down at the Civic Center. That involves the food service program and busing students back and forth for their classes at an additional expense. What we would like to do is bring that culinary program back from the Civic Center and put it at the high school. We think that it is critically important with the Baraboo Dells environment that we offer this strong culinary program and that we do it on site. Art has also gained in popularity with the block schedules. Unfortunately, the art environment is one of those that seems to get the leftover classrooms. You can see here how packed in they are, including access to one classroom is done through walking through the middle of the other home ec classroom. So you have to walk through one classroom to get to your art classroom. It was actually a 4K environment that we had that got converted to art. Not only do we need a creative environment for our growing number of art students, but we also need a display area to host all of the works that are done in a K through 12 environment. What we want to do is put up a gallery that will be seen by most of the community, because the high school is probably the most visible environment to our community. We'd like to put our art gallery in the forefront for everyone to enjoy. Here's some examples of the classroom and the kids. Library and Media Center, obviously this has changed dramatically. It's no longer that please be quiet, it's time to study type environment where the heads are down and no one talks. Today's library and media centers are the hub of any high school. It's that opportunity for kids to come together, work and collaborate. It's also an opportunity to access technology. And so what we want to do is make that environment one that's very inviting for all of our students. The picture on the far left is the renovated East School Library. It's amazing how excited the kids are to be in that environment. The middle one is the high school library currently, lots of square tables that don't move around. The picture on the right is an example of what a typical newer library would be at a high school. Physical education is probably one of our fastest growing areas in the high school. Again, with the block scheduling, we've seen a fourfold increase in the number of students taking physical education, including strength and conditioning classes, as well as traditional Phi Ed offerings. Back in the day, we just had one piece of weight room equipment and one or two students using it at a time. Our weight room was built in the 90s. It has 8 stations, and the picture demonstrates that we've had up to as many as 60 kids in there trying to use it. In the summer, we have kids arriving at 6:30 in the morning so that they can get their requirements in for their sports or their classes. The big thing with this upcoming project that we're proposing is looking at co-curricular space. Keep in mind that back in 1960 there was 9 sports, all boys sports. There was 100 athletes. Today there's 25 boys and girls sports with almost 500 athletes. We've also seen a tremendous growth in club sports, meaning that we see kids at the middle school and the elementary level playing basketball, football, volleyball, soccer. And all of these are great activities for kids. It gets them off the sofa, away from the television, gets them out in the community. And unfortunately, the environment at the high school has never changed to accommodate that. We still have one basketball court for 1,000 students. We think that this is an opportunity to turn this project into a community use project and allow all kinds of community access, especially with the 4-phase gym that's being proposed, to have an indoor track and allow access to that track and fitness. Also use that environment for larger group gatherings, for community events and things like that. So we're pretty excited because we think that that indoor track turns this into a community use facility. This picture on the screen represents the rendering of where we're at now. The white is the existing building. The blue is also existing building, but currently under remodeling. In the middle, you'll see that we're also looking to remodel the locker rooms from the 60s. They haven't really been touched since the 60s. We want to add on to tech ed. We want to add on to the cafeteria, commons. We want to allow a much bigger fitness room and a four-phase gym to take care of our current needs. Our timeline is very important. We need feedback from the entire community. We want to make sure that what we have proposed, we're on the right track, both with size and scope and with timing. We also have done a lot of meetings with stakeholders, not only staff members, but community members, to make sure that we have addressed all of the needs at the high school. As we look to get the surveys back, we'll get them back. They'll be coming out in the first part of May. We'll get them back at the end of May. We'll review the surveys to gauge the level of support from the community and possibly look to a referendum this fall if we show that there is support from the public on the project. What are the next steps? Well, the next steps are the survey, and that's going to be an opportunity for you to give feedback to the district. We encourage everybody to fill out the survey and send it back. After that comes a June 13th meeting of the Board of Education to review the results of the survey. What we would like to do then is highlight some of the things that people ask about. People always want to ask, how does the district do? Well, the district is a high-performing district when it comes to academics, and it's a low-spending district. We will be able to present you some information about the mill rates that show we're some of the lowest spending districts in the area. The other thing is people ask about is what are the costs of this project? The entire cost of this looks to be at $36 million. What does that mean to you? Well, for every $100,000 value of your home, it represents $120 per year. Even with that addition to our existing mill rate, we'll still be a low spending school district. We want to make sure that we get your input for phase 2. Please look for that survey, fill it out and send it back. We do have a deadline of May 16th, and we look forward to hearing from you in the near future. Thank you.